Welcome back to my channel. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Is there anything better than a person who does something with strategy behind it? A reason that something that looks maybe like it's not strategic, but it actually is. Like, as an example, me taking the cloth off of this. Moving into a corner where there is absolutely nothing here except for a microphone that maybe might not even be plugged into anything. Nothing, no reason for you guys to be here except if I am what I say, which is the GOAT on the mic, the greatest of all time. There will never be an equal. Talking about UFC or mixed martial arts, I challenge anyone to find me a channel that is dropping knowledge like I do. Aside from the Weasel when it comes to X's and O's, Shell Sonnen probably all the time. I don't know, I'm drawing a blank. What you guys got? Oh, Mixed Molly, obviously, when it comes to documentary. I mean, actually, I take that back. Mixed Mollies is the best MMA analysis thing in any category. But a dude with a mic in front of him, what's up? Who you got? Luke Thomas, please. Ariel? Give me a break. So I made this entire place barren to call them out. I challenge you guys to have a setup this sorry and then still have people come to your channel. That's not why I did it. I did it because my setup sucks. And I'm just not even going to pretend like it doesn't suck. So now I'm just going to own it. It's like, here, this is a plastic table, a microphone that's not even plugged in, and there's shadows on the wall. And guess what? You're still going to stay here and listen because I'm going to drop fire on you, and you know it. Okay, so let's talk about Jon Jones and his idiotic call out of Francis Ngannou. Now, I realize I already did a video on this, but, you know, the video is like, hey, if they fight, here's what'll happen. They're not going to fight, okay? Unless Jon's crazy. And also, it's just such bad strategy. Okay, listen, okay? I'm gonna play the Dana White position here, right? Where, like, we're trying to, you know, strategically move the chess pieces on the chessboard to have good results later on and set up big fights. Now, Jon Jones moving to heavyweight is an equally big fight to him fighting Francis Ngannou, no matter who he fights. So, doesn't it make more sense to have him fight someone that he is likely to beat and who doesn't weigh 261 pounds? Like, I don't know, Junior Dos Santos. Makes a hell of a lot more sense than Francis Ngannou. Or even Alistair Overeem, who's a big boy, but he ain't Francis Ngannou big. I mean, why not a smaller heavyweight? Why start with Francis? You're going to sell more pay-per-views when you fight Francis if you face Junior Dos Santos and you beat him definitively. Or you face Alistair Overeem and you beat him definitively. Then you fight Francis, and that sells a lot of pay-per-views. And you also, we're going to sell an equal number of pay-per-views when you fought any heavyweight because it's your first debut at heavyweight. Okay? I realize this is really, really high-level stuff that, you know, most people can't think through for themselves, which is why you have to come to my channel because, gosh, who could have made that connection? So high-level, Jon Jones. I mean, jeez. So one thing I also wanted to point out, because I get a lot of shit in the comments from people, I will make fun of Jon Jones or other people about strategic decisions, things that I can do better in a lot of cases. You will never hear me say a single negative thing about anyone as it relates to their balls, courage, or in most cases, their performance in the octagon. Because I am not in the octagon. I am not in a position to challenge them on that. And the people in the comments, you should keep that in mind because you seem to think that I am talking bad, negative things about whoever you consider your fighter to be. And if you really go back and listen, I don't ever talk negatively about anybody, especially not Khabib. You Khabib lovers, I love Khabib, okay? So this whole thing you guys have going where, you know, Jesse on Fire has a problem with Khabib, I have no problem with Khabib. I love that guy. Probably have more respect for him than anybody else in the world, okay? Jeez. Stop making me defend myself. I don't like the way it makes me feel. So, Jon Jones, okay? Let's talk about why he should fight Junior Dos Santos. I think he is a better technical striker. I think that Jon might even, at 230 pounds, be strong enough to even kind of move Junior Dos Santos around a little bit if they end up clinching. I think the likelihood of him getting punched is pretty high because he gets punched in all of his fights now. And Junior Dos Santos has about a 30% chance. 30% chance. Okay, I'm not a ratio that's not even going to work. Look, Francis Ngannou hits you, you're going to sleep. Okay, period. Human body cannot absorb that amount of power. That is just that's reality. Francis Ngannou punches you, it's like a human wrecking ball. You're going night night. Junior Dos Santos, No one else has power like that. No one. So, how about you, baby steps. Now, he might just be on Twitter just, yep, and he's under the impression that pretending he's going to take a fight with Francis Ngannou is going to hype his fight with Jan Blachowicz. That ain't going to work, bud. Okay? That ain't going to work. Now that you've said it over and over, now you got to fight a heavyweight. You got to. Well, I mean, you don't have to, but you have to if you want to gain the attention that you are trying to get from doing whatever you think you're doing. Now, maybe he honestly watches Francis Ngannou and he's like, I could beat this guy, period, and I will certainly acknowledge that Jon Jones probably has a more keen eye for watching fights than I do. I will take my hat off there. A few people on earth that I think probably are better at breaking fights down than I am. But Jon Jones also might have that whole I'm betting on myself thing going. And listen, bud, I get it. You're betting on yourself. But I'm pretty good at this. And I have been pretty bulletproof on picking what's going to happen when people fight Francis Ngannou. And it doesn't take a whole lot of analysis. I go, oh yeah, Francis is going to win by knockout in the first round. Probably in the first minute. And then he just kind of does. So, I mean, I would love to hear your game plan. Is it wrestle? Because I would love to see that. I would love to see how Francis Ngannou is going to deal with someone trying to wrestle him. But I would just, if I was your manager, I would say, why don't you just chill out a second and fight JDS or Alistair. Seems like a much better starting point. But I also want to talk about the weight classes because here's the thing. I love talking about putting other analysts' teeth on my bone necklace. I love it. But I usually like to give a reason why. And one thing that I hear analysts say all the time that is so stupid, and as a matter of fact, anytime that you hear an analyst say this, I would appreciate it if you would go into their comments and just write bone necklace. Eventually, people are going to start figuring, what's this bone necklace saying? As my channel grows, because ultimately this is going to be the biggest MMA channel in the world. But, on the way up, before people have realized it, before they realize I'm calling for teeth on my necklace, I want it slowly but surely. Bone necklace. They're like, what's this bone necklace in my comments? And eventually they're going to go, oh, that's Jesse on Fire. He called something very specific out that he says is so stupid that if anybody else says it, that, his minions should go tell them to take their teeth out and then send them to him so he could put it on their necklace. That's what that means. So, bone necklace, if you ever hear anyone say the following, okay? You know what the UFC is really missing is a 165-pound division. That would really shake things up. I think that's a big opportunity that the UFC is missing. 165. Okay, end of analysis. That's it. Just 165. Like that's your missing division. Just 165. Cool. Okay. So no one is saying that a 165-pound division would not be a good idea. However, if that's the end of your analysis, then get your teeth out, because what are you talking about? Okay, there's already a 170-pound division. You go 125, 135, 145, 155, and then I realize, like people who learned patterns when they were 6 are like, well, the next one is 165, and that one goes to 170. Oh, and then it goes 185. I mean, geez. Okay. So then what are we doing? Are we doing 165, 175, and then 185? Because that's an argument. That makes sense. Is that what we're doing? Is that what you're suggesting? Because I can get behind that. 165, then 175, then 185, then 205. And then I would say 225 even makes sense. Huh? Something in between 205 and 265 probably makes sense. I can get behind that. But I'm speaking common sense over here. I don't want to get into, the world that you live in where we just need 165. That's it. That's it. And I think I'm up for adding lots of divisions because I would love to see a championship fight every single week. Also, I think it'd be cool to see guys collect multiple belts, right? So right now, think about it like this, okay? Right now, you have a 170-pound champ, 185-pound champ, 205, whatever, right? So you got, Kamaru Usman, right? Kamaru Usman. If there was a 165-pound division, right, do you think that he could win it there? Probably. If there was a 175-pound division, do you think he would win it there? Maybe. Probably. But you could really weed out who the really dominant champions are if they were champions at 165, 170, 175. And then there's someone else who's got 180, 185, 190, etc. If you really start getting surgical with the weight classes, because there might be someone who's like, yeah, I'm really content to just hold the belt at 140, and that's it. And you're like, okay, well, yeah, he's got a belt, but He's picking and choosing, and he's at 140. Or you have guys like Conor, who I imagine would try to collect 7 belts in a row, right? I think it would be, as the sport evolves, a way that we could really see who's a real gangster. Also, make him fight a lot more. Not that that's necessarily a good thing, I guess. Maybe that's what the problem is. Maybe that's what the problem is. Actually, that's, as I'm talking this through, you see, I can acknowledge when I'm wrong. I can acknowledge when I literally was saying these things and thinking about them at the same time. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm saying, yeah, that's a problem. Someone could just literally like swallow up 3 belts and then, they're only gonna fight 3 times a year, and then those divisions don't really matter. So what am I talking about? What am I talking about? This makes no sense. This entire thing makes no sense. And normally, your run-of-the-mill MMA analyst would probably just go, geez, I don't need to start over on this video, but I'm not going to, because you don't watch this for good analysis. You watch it to watch me think out loud, contradict myself, and then come back and say, geez, what a stupid idea. However, I will go back to the original premise, which was 125, 135, 145, 155, 165, 175, 185, 205, 225, 265. Let's do that. Okay? Bone necklace. If you think that that's not a good idea, go ahead. Tell me that's not a good idea. To just drop 170, add 165, add 175, and then add 225. Tell me that's not a good idea. Go ahead. I dare you. Because obviously it's a good idea. Gosh, it's like painful being right all the time. However, what do you do about this 170-pound champion? What do you do there? I guess you kind of just say, hey, now you're the champion at 175? And then 165 is like a vacant? I don't know. Because you can't just assume a guy can just cut another 5 pounds. Everybody can make an additional 5 pounds. But, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good idea. And I certainly think that adding a weight class at the top is common sense. Because 205 to 265 makes no sense. Okay? Like, we're segmenting these guys by 10 pounds when they're, like from 150 or 145 to 155, and then once you get to 205, it's like, but a 207 pounder, he's fine against a 266 pounder, right? What's 60 pounds? I've never understood that. I do understand it. It's because there's a lack of talent, I would assume. Like, from light heavyweight, once you get into the heavyweight division, there aren't that many heavyweight fighters. Now, let me quiz you guys. What do you think that means about society in general? Like, in general, what does that mean? It means that training to be a fighter is a response to being a small person that feels meek and unsafe when you're small. Why do you think there are so many 155-pound fighters? Because guys who grew up my size were looking up at everyone like, Jesus, I don't like how I feel right now. I think I'm going to train to be tough. That's how I turned into the ironclad murder machine that I am. I didn't like feeling small at all. Now, I would spaz out playing sports, get kicked off the field all the time because I was an unhinged maniac. But, when I got older and into my, late teens, early 20s, and I started banging with people, that's when I was like, oh, wow, this feels good, being feared by people. Why would you ever need to feel like that if you grew up at 250 pounds, right? Like, people already are like, oh, jeez. You're not making up for anything. So, the heavyweight division is light. I mean, I actually seriously think it's that simple. Also, as you are an elite athlete at that level, well, yeah, actually, there are lots of ways to make money. If you're an elite level athlete at 240 pounds, I've heard that you can make a lot of money playing professional baseball or professional football. I've heard that there's some big paychecks in those leagues. So maybe there's that. I mean, there are a lot of, college athletes who don't make it to the league, though. So again, why not fighting? Maybe it's because they're pansies. Maybe it's because once you get over a certain weight, just like per capita, you're a bigger pansy. That's what we're going with. Pansies. The old pansy defense. That's why the heavyweight division is light. I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about in this video. So, Jon Jones, just stop it with Ngannou. Don't do it. I would love to see you fight at heavyweight. Why you wouldn't fight DC at heavyweight, that is a whole other thing. Like, hello, that's the biggest fight ever. Okay? Ever. I wouldn't sleep for a month before that fight. I'd be so excited. I'd be rooting against you, though. And I'm not ashamed of that. I would be rooting against you. I'd be rooting for the good guy. People think I'm rooting for the bad guy because I root for Conor over Khabib, but that has nothing to do with Conor or Khabib's personality. It just has to do with who Conor would be if he pulled off that impossible win. Also, Khabib won the first time. It's more interesting if Conor wins the second time. Now, DC, has done everything right in his life. Jon Jones, it's like rooting for talent over hard work. You can't do it. DC, he deserves it. And then he gets to float out on a cloud of glory. Anyway, that's what I got. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, tell everybody. I mean, jeez, quit slacking.